Hello, everyone. Hello, Africa. Hello, the world. Hello, Nigeria. We are so happy to have you here with us. My name is Nena Okore. I'm the Director for Learning, Edves Incorporated, and I'm so excited that we're having another avenue to share ideas and share knowledge on how we can make learning fun and easier for our children and for the next generation. So I would like us to start immediately, and I hope we're all present, we're ready with our writing materials, our notepads, and every other thing, because you're sure going to learn so much today. First of all, I would like to say welcome, bienvenue, and any other language that we could say or we could speak. And I would like to invite my very dear colleague, Olaolu. He's the head of growth Edves, to give us a little insight about Edves and also to welcome you as well on behalf of the CEO and the COO. Hi, Olaolu.
Hello, Inanna. Good morning. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope you had a very great holiday. So I'm going to talking a little bit about Edves. Edves is a comprehensive school management platform and a learning management platform that digitizes schools processes. Right now, we are present in over 7 countries in Africa, and we are also in all the geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So basically, what do we do in Edves, and what's our vision? Our vision is to reimagine education and make learning easy. So some of the things, some of the reasons why we have our vision is some of the reasons why we have some of the program we're having today, which is blended learning, and our speakers are going to be talking about blended learning today, and I hope you all have your writing materials and all, and I know that you're going to get so much from this program. Yeah, thank you very much, Inanna.
Thank you, Olaolu. Thank you very much. So one of the things and the visions we have at Edves is to create platforms where educators share ideas and make learning easier and teaching easier as well. So that's one of the reasons why we set up the webinar series. And for this is actually our second episode. And for this month, we'll be looking at blended learning. I'd like to introduce all our speakers from various parts of Africa who are here to share their ideas and their experiences. I'd like to start by introducing our very first speaker in no particular order, Idara Umosen. So, Idara, hi, how are you doing? Okay, so I'm going to, so it's, I'm fine, thank you. So I'm going to give a brief description about who Idara is. We go way back as colleagues, first of all, as teachers, and currently Idara is the vice principal of Bloomsbury School in Port Harcourt. She's an ardent and passionate educator who has, spoken to various school administrators all over Africa. She was once a delegate for ASA as regards blended learning, and she has a lot of ideas to share with us today. Welcome, Idara.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I'd like to introduce the second person I have here with me, Franklin. So Franklin is, hi Franklin. So I'd like to introduce Franklin. I don't know if Franklin is here yet, but I'm sure he'll be here very soon. Franklin is the principal of British International School in Accra, Ghana. He's also a passionate educator who is the author of a renowned work known as Know Thyself, where he delves into explaining the learning needs of children and how children learn. Then I would like to introduce Ebal, all the way from Sudan, Ebal Mohammed. Hi, Ebal. Okay, so Ebal is very passionate. Her smile alone can warm the hearts of children. So she's the ASA, she was once an ASA coordinator for blended learning in Africa. And she's also the curriculum developer and instructional designer for American schools in the Sudan. I'm so proud that she's here with us, and I feel honored that she's also here to share a lot of ideas with us. Welcome, Iqbal.
Welcome.
And finally, I have a teacher in the house. Hi, Israel. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Yeah, so Israel is an ICT teacher and a technology expert in education. And he's also been able to experience blended learning and infuse it in his classroom. So he's going to be sharing some ideas with us and his experiences and some challenges that he has actually faced in ensuring blended learning is infused in his classroom. I want to say welcome to all of you. Thank you for honoring the invite and for coming here to shape education in Africa and to help educators all around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll start with a short video, a very short video to introduce our guests to what blended learning actually is before we start the discussion for today.
Blended learning describes a fundamental change in education design by utilising a combination of digital learning objects and active learning methods to improve the learning experience and outcomes. A teaching session created with a blended learning model uses the face-to-face teaching time for activities that benefit the most from direct instruction. There's general consensus that blended learning has three main components: face-to-face active learning activities facilitated by an educator, digital learning objects, often bite-sized chunks of information, and structured independent study time guided by the face-to-face teaching experience. There is no set percentage for each of these components, and the amount of blend can vary from session to session. The move to blended learning supports the role of the educator to shift to a more facilitation role. The facilitator places an emphasis on empowering learners with the skills and knowledge required to make the most of the digital materials, active learning activities, and independent study time by guiding the learners through the experience. Facilitators focus on three key areas: development of digital and active learning course content, guiding the learning experience of individual learners, and customizing material wherever possible to strengthen the learning experience. And, as with all educational methods, appropriate assessment. Blended learning has already produced an offshoot called flipped learning that's quickly become an approach of its own and is covered in an additional video in the series.
Welcome back. Now, before we start the discussion, I just want to let all our viewers know that this is not just the speakers forum only. We have the comment section where you can type in your ideas, your own suggestions and questions as well, and then we'll pick it up from there. And then any idea or suggestion or question that looks very good, we'll be displaying it on screen as well as we proceed in this discussion. So yes, the discussion starts now. I'd like to welcome our guests and all our speakers once again. I'm sure I have a lot to learn here today. What really is blended learning? That's the first question. What really is blended learning? I'll start with Ebal.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Blended learning is like an approach that allows to have the modern way of teaching joined with the classic way of teaching. I would say it's like this. I don't want to say the definition in a way like the language way, but in reality, we are in a classroom. We wanted to be present with our students as educators, but we wanted to be facilitating the lesson more than being the instructor standing at the front of the class and just giving instructions. So I will stop here and give a chance to the other to add.
Okay, I think your audio, could you check your audio please, Ebal? Thank you. There was an echo. Yes.
You can hear me.
There's an echo. There's an echo.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so while Eba does that, I'll give the floor to Idara to also share her insights on what blended learning really is.
How about now?
Like we watched earlier, is a structured approach. It's structured. It's not something that you just decide, just wake up one day and say, oh, I want to have a blended learning lesson today. It's structured. And another thing that's very important about a blended learning lesson is that it's supposed to be engaging and help students control the pace, the path, the place and time of their learning. So, yes, you want me to say more? Let me just stop there.
Okay, thank you. So the basic thing I took from you is that it's a structured process. It's not just about, a lot of educators feel blended learning is I'm using technology, right? I'm infusing technology in my classroom, but it's structured. There has to be a structure in place on how you should use it. And this brings me to my next question. What are the models or the kind of structures that you have to put in place for blended learning to be effective? I'll start with you, Idara.
Okay, so first and foremost, blended learning comprises of 4 major models. We have 4 major models of blended learning. We have the rotation model. The rotation model is, I think it's the most common, and it's the most common because it is what a lot of people can adapt to, like traditional classrooms. Then we have the self-blend, we have the flex model, and then we have the enriched virtual model. But for the sake of teaching and in school, secondary school, primary school, the rotation model is what I think we should dwell more on. So the rotation model has 4 umbrellas underneath it. So that's where we have the flipped classroom or flipped learning. We have the lab rotation, even though that's becoming outdated. We have the station rotation. And what's the last one again? Egbal, can you help me?
Ebal, okay.
Yeah. How about now? Can you hear me well?
There's still an echo. I think the audio you're using, maybe the headphone or something. Yeah.
Okay. Let me change it.
Okay, so Idara, I just want to find out, an average teacher is just hearing about these models for the very first time, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and you're telling me lab rotation, and you're even telling me it's becoming outdated, and I've never heard about lab rotation. Like, what's that? Are we rotating some animals or something? You know, so can you make it layman terms and make it more elaborate for our teachers to understand?
Okay, so let me just break it down this way. Like we watched in the video earlier, blended learning has to do with a fusion of traditional teaching methods, normal face-to-face, with online methods, right? Which is usually facilitated by a teacher. And so now we're talking about rotation model. Let me just pick one of the rotation models, station rotation, which a lot of us will be able to relate with. Station rotation is where we have an offline station. An offline station could be a station where hands-on activities. So you want the students to create something, for instance. And then we also have another station where the students are required to use technology, maybe to do a research, right? And then let's also say we decide to have another station again, which is teacher-led. And these stations, all these stations have different components. So it is not to say that, okay, if I'm saying I have to have an offline station, it has to be hands-on. It has to be them creating something. It could be writing something. It could be different things. So same thing with the teacher-led. The teacher-led could be a situation where I decide that when the students get to my, this part, come to me, maybe I want to have side-by-side assessments with them. Maybe I want to use it as an opportunity to give them a mini lesson. I want to get feedback from them. It really depends on what your lesson is all about. So in summary, the rotation model is a model where students are able to move from one point to the other, either online, offline, or with the teacher.
Okay, so what we are saying now is that this happens live in the classroom. It's not like the students are going home to do something else. Like what a lot of schools do is after teaching in the class, I will infuse technology, maybe they play a game, and then I give them an assignment, a research work to do at home. Is that also blended learning?
Okay, so we also have, under rotation model, we also have what we call flipped classroom, right? And flipped classroom is the situation where some things that would have been done in the class, you have packaged it, you have organized it in such a way that the students have the opportunity to interact with it at home, maybe before the lesson, interact with it at home. And so it could be a video you want them to watch. It could be whatever it is that you have created for them to do, so that when they now come to class, everyone already has prior knowledge of what it is that you want them to do. And it is very dicey. I don't know if we'll be able to go there. There are some times, or in the past, before COVID, so you find out that you've done this thing, you've put so much effort into creating materials for the students to go home to work with. And then at the end of the day, they come to school and they tell you, we couldn't do it. There was no light, no internet. So there is something also we call the in-class flip or in-class flip model, where station rotation as well. You can decide, okay, you're already planning ahead. You know that you have certain students in your class who are like this, or certain students who may not have, whatever reason it is, and you decide that you're going to make it a station. That thing I wanted everybody to do at home is so important that if they don't do it, I don't think they would get the best of this class. And so as a teacher, I had done that in the past, where I decided to make that a station. That station isn't for everybody. That station is for students who did not interact with the material, and I really need them to do. So that's called the in-class or in-flip. I'm trying to get it right. Is the in-class flip model? Yes. So that's that.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. I've just learned an idea. Thank you. Eval, I don't know if your audio is better now. You would want to ask.
Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better?
Yes, this is way better. Yes, thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to add what Idara was saying. It's look like in my experience for doing this for like more than 7 years right now, I feel the station rotation, it's a method, it's the easy method to implement because it's already in the classroom. And it works for all various ages, from elementary up to the high school. You go to the class, you will find teachers already dividing students into groups and make each group work in a specific things. And then there is a station we'll have just for the teachers, and that's what allows the teacher to work more closely with the students who are in need for more explanation, need for help, needed more help, and so on. There is part from blended learning I just want to mention is like the enriching virtual learning, which is teachers provide resources online, providing videos and so on, and then students can start doing this part of it in the class, but in a separate way, like individual work, and also at home. When they go home, there is like a playlist will be assigned by the teacher saying, just go do this at home, and tomorrow when you come to the class, we will have these activities assigned or work on it. So this is what I wanted to add.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I hope teachers are writing down so many ideas. It's a blessing to have programs like this where teachers learn for free and then they go and implement this in the classroom, in their classrooms. I would like to move on to the next question quickly. What model best suits learners? Because some of these things you're saying, for a secondary school student, it will be easier for the students to do something like go home, watch a video, and then we'll discuss it in the next class, make a research. So how about children in the nursery or in preschool, right? Or 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds who may need extra help when it comes to this sort of activities? What kind of models suits each of the age categories? I'll start with Ebal.
So for lower elementary, usually it's hard to do things online because the workload will be done by parents most of the time. But the role of the educator in the classroom is like presenting something, preparing students in case I wanted something to be done at home, like using maybe iPad, for example, to just entering this kind of technology into the classroom to allow lower age students to be part of blending the classic way of learning with the technology. So I will give you an example. If the teacher uses the technology as a part of like not for just the heck of using the technology itself, but I wanted to enrich the learning, I can have a few type of applications, train the students in the classroom to say, when you go home, you can do this. You can do it in your mobile with your parents. You can do it with your iPad. And then if the school has the ability to provide the iPad to the student, these things can come slowly into the class. We don't want to wait until we have emergency like COVID, for example, and we had to shut the school. And then we figure out all the elementary students are not really familiar with the use of the technology. And we have to be online and we have to teach them online. I personally, as educator, I believe that the best things for lower elementary is to be in the classroom. But we have to expose them to the use of the online learning and the technology and so on. I will leave a chance for other people to add.
Okay. I think I agree with you. My take from what you just said is that schools should be ready. Schools should be ready technologically. From the moment a child steps into your school, a child should be prepared for any disruption. And the best way to get ready for any disruption in society is to prepare them technologically in that area. I would like to hear Israel's own opinion. What do you think is the best model for each age group?
Okay, good morning, everyone, once again. To me, I still feel that some questions should be asked in order to know what should be the best. The first thing I feel should be considered is, are the schools available actually ready to receive a blended learning? They must have these questions in mind. Number two, okay, if the answer is yes, we are going to make provision for it. The question will be, what will be the role of the teacher in blended learning? Because the role of the teacher matters a lot. In blended learning, we're looking at the role of a teacher as an educator, especially in the traditional setting where the teacher has to give instruction. And at the same time, you're blending it with the internet, with the complement of the internet. At this point, the teacher must have to be a facilitator, not teaching, just like the regular way. This is very important. Then the next question should be, what will be the role of the pupils in blended learning? Are the pupils still going to be what they are when we're using the normal traditional way to teach? Or are we going to make them independent? Are the school ready to allow this to happen? Though we know there are so many weaknesses or issues that may arise concerning this. And I believe this is a new way. It's one of the new normal in our society, which we must adopt. But we have so many challenges. So to me, looking at which should be the best, it should be determined by the school. Are they actually ready? And also, we have issue with teachers not being able to become dynamic, where you can move from the state where you are to another state. These are questions. If they are well answered, then the best method won't be a problem, because you need to look, because using blended learning, the role of blended learning is to provide solution and feed the needs of the learner. So in doing this, I think one of the role I've looked at and actually monitored is station rotation. Yes. When my colleague actually spoke, I actually enjoyed it. Yes. Because one of the goals is to see that pupils are engaged and they fulfill a specific task. So if station rotation and also flipped class is one of which can be used. But the question is, when should each of these models come to play, depending on the subject and depending on the pupil in questions? Because we must look at the learning styles. Those pupils who are visual, auditory, and also those who are kinesthetic in nature. So each of these putting into perspective will actually determine the best role the teacher should use. Because I don't want to look and say this should be the most absolute, but the pupils differs and their needs also differs. It's just for teacher to be able to explore all of this and get the one that is more suitable. And the best way to do this is how many teachers are willing to explore to get to this point. And the more a teacher can explore, then we say, yes, growth is taking place, especially in Africa. Because I want this concept to actually be treated in the situation we have in Africa. And the schools available, how prepared are they? But with such a class organized by Edves, it will actually go a long way. And I'm actually learning. Thank you.
Wow. You said a lot, like it's a reflection for all of us. You know, we can go on and on talking about the different models and different styles, but the thing is, are we ready? You know, so it's a reflection on us all as educators. And it means that every school needs to do a needs assessment. Needs assessment in terms of what do your teachers need? What kind of training, what kind of exposure do they need? Needs assessment in terms of what kind of learners do you have and what are their various needs? And even your parents, what kind of parents do you have in your school and what are their needs? And then when you're able to assess all these, you can now select the best model. Thank you very much, Israel, for making us reflect this morning. All right, so I would like to welcome once again Franklin. Franklin is just landing in Ghana from UK, so I guess the whole flight thing and all that. Welcome, Franklin. I introduced you earlier, and I told everyone about who you are and how you're passionate about the learning needs of students. So this topic is also something that touches your core as well. So I would like you to share some of your ideas with us today, and I would like you to treat the next question I'll be asking. Before I go to the next question, I just want to encourage our audience to keep listening. This program is also recorded, and you can play it on and on and on after the event. For our audience saying some of us are fast and they're taking down notes, you know, there's a lot to learn at the same time. So they're taking down notes, and it seems the flow is going fast, too fast for them. Blended learning is a very broad topic. I'm sure Idara and Ebal can attest to that. Is a topic that they take weeks to train teachers on. Am I correct, Idara? So there's a lot to cover in just 50 minutes. So I'd like us to be patient and just listen and take notes if you can. But if not, you can always go back to the program and watch on YouTube and on Facebook Live as well. All right, so I'll move to the next question immediately. And this question goes directly to Franklin. What is the easiest model to use when transiting from traditional classroom to a blended classroom?
Good morning or good afternoon. The easiest model to use when transiting from traditional to blended. Well, it depends on the school, number one, you know, and where they're already at. Because you see, every school and the kind of pedagogy they have, the policies they have in place. I'll use my school as an example. Because the kind of policies we have in place already promotes project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, and also technology. When we had this COVID times, blended learning wasn't a problem. You know, we just jumped onto Google Classroom, use of Zoom, and the children all had the devices, so it was easy. Let's talk about schools that don't have these things in place. When schools don't have these things in place, they cannot, I can't say this is the particular model that they can use, but I can say which way they can work towards getting to blended learning. First of all, the head of the school, whoever is in charge of the school, will have to understand what blended learning is. And they have to sit together with teachers and have training for teachers to understand what blended learning is. Like you said, it takes about 6 weeks or even more than that, because it has a lot to do with curriculum. Now, if there's no time, but they have to rush onto blended learning, then it means that they have to have some immersion quickly, which may go probably over a week, for teachers to first understand what is national curriculum and what is school curriculum and what the school has decided to do. Then the other models like project-based learning, inquiry-based learning, you know, that they will need to employ will have to be explained to teachers. They have to go through the practical way to understand it, and then get it in a way that they can put a policy together, make an outline clear to teachers, something that will pin teachers down to teach in that way. Then they will need to also do training for parents, because they need to carry parents along. Now, for that training, not all parents might attend. So you need to send letters, you need to send emails, send WhatsApp messages, even stand at the school gate and catch up with the parents there and be telling them so they all understand that there's going to be a meeting, a very important meeting on a particular day. When they come, you explain it to them in English and in whatever language that the parents in that area will understand. So they know what the school has planned to do. As a school, you're not going to go and take up a technology that you know you don't have, or the people in your community don't have. So you want to take up something that all of them can have access to, which might be WhatsApp, it might be TV, it might be videos. So you discuss with the parents and then let them understand what you intend to do. You have your policies in place, and the policies should be gradual. Then there's monitoring going on that will monitor teachers and support teachers, because not all teachers will understand this approach that you are trying to take. You cannot do everything at the same time. You might have to outline them and break it down and have like a timeline and say, from this time to this time, this is what we'll start with. From that time to that time, this is what we're going to start with. We're going to continue with. From this time to this time, we're going to bring that in, okay? So gradually, by the end of the academic year, we will have this blended learning approach taking place. I think that's where I can get it to.
Okay, so before we continue, one of the participants just asked a question about blended. I think a lot of them are getting confused about the various models of blended learning. I don't know if Ebal can do justice to that question for the next 2 minutes. Can you throw more light on the different models of the blended learning?
Yeah, blended learning has a rotation station and flipped model and flipped classroom and also enriched virtual model. Those are the four major we can talk about. I hope this answers the questions.
But they need to understand what is enriched virtual, what is flipped model, what is rotation model, and the rest of them. I think Idara did justice to the rotation model, right? Idara did justice to that. So maybe we'll just focus on because of time, we'll just focus on the other three models.
Okay, so shall I talk? Okay, for the flex model actually it's from the flexibility of teacher being flexible, offering what in the class, but the students has to do their own part individually also. And flipped classroom is come part of this. So for example, if I have a class and I teach the major things of the unit or the lesson I wanted to teach, and then I should prepare, as a teacher, I should prepare extra resources. Usually you can find video in Khan Academy or YouTube, or even if you want to video yourself teaching the whatever you want, and then give it to the students as extra resource. The students can go and look at more details about what you are talking about. And then when you come for discussion, that part will be, okay, we already watched this video, so it's give me extra time in the class to emphasize more of the learning outcome I want it to be happening. Major things in this model is the preparation of the teachers for extra resources to be available for students. And then the enriched virtual model. In this one, we talk about the students who are capable of taking online class by themselves. This is probably we saw it a lot during COVID. So when there is some in the hybrid mode, we will find some students, they are not going to be available in school, but they're capable of doing the materials. You will sign them online, then they can do it. Then as an educator, me as a teacher, I will follow in a different way with the students who's far away from the classroom, but capable of doing things online separately.
Okay, I guess that answers the question. I hope we've really explained that, and I hope the speaker has gained one or two things from the various models. All right, so I'll move to Idara as well. As an administrator, you know, you're the vice principal of Bloomsbury School in Port Harcourt. I just want you to assume that your school was a traditional school. Apart from what Franklin has said about how you can transit, what are some other ideas you would like to share with us, how you could transit from a traditional school to a blended school?
Okay, so first and foremost, we need to understand that we've talked a lot about the models of blended learning, and it's safe to say that for schools in Nigeria, schools in Africa, where we haven't advanced to a point where first for us to introduce to our schools, to introduce when we're moving from traditional to blended learning. Now, how can we get our schools, how, as an administrator, how can I encourage it? So let me give my experience. When we started off with blended learning a few years ago, when we didn't even have students with computers and all that, teachers didn't understand. Many teachers still don't understand and are not willing, because their past ways of teaching has produced results. Anyway, the students are passing, they're passing their external exams and all that. So why do blended learning? So as an administrator, the first thing, one of the things we need to do is to train, like Franklin said, we need to train the teachers, we need to explain to them, we need to make them understand what blended learning is. Where is the school going to? Why do we want to do this, right? We also need to communicate, because the parents, whether we like it or not, will be involved. We have to be able to communicate to the parents, flipped lessons and the rest, if we need them to provide computers and all that. We need to communicate effectively. This is where the school is going to, because we'll always need the support of the parents. Then another thing that we did in the past was that, because blended learning is not something that you just stumble on and, you know, get right. I for the first 1 year, it was practical, because some days my class was chaos. But now what do? As an administrator, you're able to identify the super users, people who already understand how to use this thing, people who already know what to do, and make them support others. So after you have trained, don't think that everybody automatically, you know, they'll just start getting it done. It's not going to happen. It's new. And so we need teachers who are super users to be able to support these other teachers we want to learn. We can also have small groups. We also did small groups where you have meetings. The super users have meetings with the other teachers. They tell them their problems, they tell them their experiences, and then they provide solutions. One other thing I also did as a blended learning coordinator was that I started going into classes. So a teacher sets time and date with me. Okay, this is what I want to do. I go through the whole lesson planning, the design with the teacher before the class. Okay, these are your objectives. This is what we're going to do. We design the class together. I give ideas. And then on that day, we go into the class together, and then I begin to support. So the teacher already knows what he is supposed to do, or she is supposed to do, based on our prior discussion, right? But I'm there to provide support, because sometimes a lot of things come into play, because students are supposed to transit from one point to the other, right? And it's a tough task. So as the person who is offering support to the teacher, you're able to say, okay, no, you need a cue. You don't just say everybody move, there'll be chaos. We need to have a cue for this transition. This is what they need to do, or this is what you need to tell them before they move from this station to the other station, so that it is tidy. So support, communication with the parents, equipment, and then did I mention infrastructure? The school needs to be ready, because many school administrators want to start blended learning. They'll tell you, oh, we want to do this. We'll tell, push the teachers, we have to do this. But really, infrastructure is not even in place. And so I think those are three things that we would need administrators to be aware of if they need to, promote the culture of blended learning in their schools. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Idara. That was so insightful. Someone says blended learning to me should be the next thing. I've been adapting some kind of blended learning, but I never knew it by such name in the past. This webinar is actually an eye-opener to doing it better. Thank you so much, Olaolu Agbola. And this brings me to the next question, and I want the audience to participate. I would like us to type in our chat boxes what you have been doing in your classroom that looks like what we've been discussing, that seems to be like blended learning in your classroom. I'll give us, while we type in our comments, I would allow Israel to share some of his experiences with us. He's an ICT teacher and he's been applying blended learning in his classroom. So can you share some experiences with us, Israel?
Okay, thank you. The first thing I would like to say concerning blended learning, we must understand that the world is moving. I remember we used to hear that in the old times, they started by reading scrolls. And our forefathers also used stones. They wrote on stones while learning, and it was a group discussion. But over time, we have books available. Yes. And the only way we can cut the dichotomy between, that is, bridge the gap between the old, which is the use of the traditional way of learning, is to gradually take the present trend in teaching into the 21st century. And the better we understand that, the best way we can bridge the gap between Africa as a country and the entire world is if we start it as quick as possible. But we can start from a small place. Okay, to the question quickly. What I did is this. The first thing is, for instance, I want to teach a topic. What is the content of the topic? I'll put that in mind as my number one priority. Okay, how difficult is this topic? Is this topic a topic that will give headache because it is more of abstract? The people won't be able to see it very well. This is what I do. I want to teach the topic military rule, for instance. This is what I did. A day before the topic, I made a video, sent a video online, and I told the pupils, I want you to watch this video. Okay, anyway, I used, kudos to Edves. I had to use Edves to send it because in my school, with the help of Ms. Karim, who is my proprietress, a great woman, she assisted me with this. And we went further to send this video through Edves. And they watched it a day before the class. It was difficult for them to comprehend because at first they were looking at soldiers shooting. They saw the meaning. So the next day in the class, I brought the topic before them. It became easier. The first thing I told them was, when they were watching the video, can you please leave a comment? Just explain to me what you understand by the video you've just watched. And they were able to just, wow. The video is about this. This is what is happening. Somebody taking over the government by force. Okay, I'm seeing people. These are soldiers. Okay, it actually made teaching easy because at this point, they've been able, based on their own understanding and at their own pace, see the need that, wow, okay, this topic is not as difficult when I made mention of it a week ago, that this is one of the things we are going to do. But watching a video and giving them room to analyze it using digital, it was easier to teach and make the topic effective the next day when I use a blended learning. That is the traditional way. And what I did wasn't just to teach it. I always believe that blended learning should be more of the mode of delivery, the models of teaching. I'm using, according to Procter, is one of those who actually defined blended learning in 2003. That blended learning should be an effective combination of the different mode of learning or mode of delivery, the models of teaching, and also the styles of learning. And it was very easy. And number two, I also did some findings. I discovered that one thing blended learning will do to a learner is it will help you as a teacher to identify, because it does the work of data-driven instruction. That is what it produces for a teacher. You are able to look at your learner. For those who can read, for instance, if it is a preschool, someone who can read 0 to 5 years, I mean, from 0 to 5, a number, you'll be able to identify when you give them these videos and you tell them, okay, can you go through the videos? It will be easier for you to identify, okay, these are those that are finding it difficult, especially when you want them to make audio calls in the course of making this learning. In all and all, in my experiences using blended learning, I feel, I think, and I know it is time for this generation, for this 21st generation, especially Africa, parents, teachers, to understand that we can make further headway. Yes, we may feel the old method are working for us, but do you know the sophisticated equipments that are in place? Can the pupils actually relate to these things right now? The
Okay,
answer
thank
will
you
be,
so much,
okay, that's, thank you.
Israel. Thank you.
Okay.
I know you're so passionate, but if we keep listening to you, the whole time will be up. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
no
All right,
problem.
so a lot of educators have been posting their experiences, and someone says, I allow my pupils to watch a downloaded video on the topic for better understanding, then later ask them questions on it. Well done. My work, okay, someone else is saying, in my classroom, I make use of PowerPoint slides. I encourage gamification for my learners to be actively engaged. The use of various learning videos related and all that. Now, someone says she does a voiceover and then non-live lessons. Well done. I also want us to realize that we'll still get to the advantages of blended learning, but what Idara said about the rotation model, just using the rotation model alone can help you reach all your learners within a very short time. Because if you want to bring in gamification, for example, some students may not finish up that game within 20 minutes, but with the rotation model, they have a timeline to do various activities, and you are sure that they are all engaging in such activity. Someone asked a question as well about how can we infuse blended learning in a school that hasn't gained support or does not have enough funds for tech gadgets. We'll hold on to that question. And then after our very short break for just 2 minutes, we'll come back and Franklin will do justice to that question. Thank you very much. We're going on a 2 minutes break, and then we'll come back after 2 minutes to continue the session.
Okay, thank you.
Edves is Africa's leading digital educational platform, which enables administration, communication, finance, teaching, and learning beyond the classroom. Edves allows you as a parent to access and track your child's academic reports and personal growth at any time, giving you a better understanding of your child's academic performance.
Have a nice day at school.
We give you the security and reassurance you need to excel in your daily activities and manage your financial obligations to your child's education. Edves provides an administrative and management system which enhances accountability, teamwork, and growth needed for a thriving organization. Which brings perfect results. Teach creatively, learn effectively, track your child's performance easily, and do so much more with Edves. Edves, digital education. Visit www.edves.net to get started now.
Edves is solving a lot of problems for us. Edves is solving a lot of problems for us. It is centralizing all the information. Temple School has 4 locations, and so it's not easy trying to coordinate everything. You want to be able to sit and look at all the information at a glance.
I think what Edves did was they added value that was able to support our vision and our mission for the children that passed through us.
We're lucky that we were able to get the Edves team on board before the lockdown, because with that we had all the information very centrally, and having that was very easy for us to be able to communicate all the different changes.
We now don't have to go to different places to get information. So you don't need to get different spreadsheets. You don't need to get access to different reports. You can eliminate the paperwork. That helps you, you know. I can actually be at a party and I can check on my phone and know what is going on. So,
okay, we do reports. But what do these reports tell us about our students? Can we have descriptive statements? For the first time, we were able to do that at the end of the last academic session, where not only did we have the grades and ranking of the students, but every teacher had the opportunity to describe the child within their setting, how well they're doing, how well they're coping with the lessons or the subject, and the needs for them to improve. And that was, for me, a big step, because our parents actually embraced.
Edves has helped us concerning the preparation of results, has also helped us to have
Welcome back, everyone. I'm sure we've assimilated a lot today. We'll continue with our discussion right now. And if you're just joining us, we've been discussing about blended learning and all the models of blended learning. And a lot of us have been sharing ideas about how we use blend and practice blended learning in our various classrooms. And I've had very insightful discussions with our speakers, Franklin Ajete, Idara Umosen, Ebal Mohammed, and Israel. I would like to welcome them back as we continue with our discussion. The last question I discussed before we went on a break was from one of our participants, and we are looking at some of the challenges that could arise from implementing blended learning in our classrooms. So I'll start with Franklin. I would like Franklin to quickly answer that question of the participants. How can we develop blended learning in a school that is not yet tech ready, doesn't have the funds for the SASE tech that we see in so many schools today?
Okay, thank you very much, Nena. So blended learning is not only about the use of technology. And also I have to emphasize that the use of technology is not only about computers, devices as computers, phones. When we talk about technology, even the use of a pen is technology, because it's the starting. Technology goes through a process. So there's so many things in our environment which is very technological and not necessarily use of computers. One of the areas that schools that don't have this technology can employ is latching on children's interest. Because lack of technology doesn't mean that learning has to stop or learning cannot take place. So use of children's interest is very important. Children's interest in the sense that maybe it can be a story, it can be football, or any form of sports, any ideas that majority of the children have. If you put the children in groups, as we talk about rotation, because that we can't go wrong, children can learn in groups. Every lesson must have a learning objective. And that learning objective can be put in the form of a question. So when that question is put on the board, whether you use the chalk or whatever you write on, everybody can see it. Allow the children to discuss in their groups, to brainstorm what they already know. You need to cite the class such that no answer is wrong or right, so that people are not ridiculed by what they say. We respect everybody's thinking. So children will bring ideas that will fascinate you, and they will take control of their learning, and each group can come and present what they discuss, because they can choose one person, which is teamwork and leadership. Then also, we have something we call blue pen question, or use of blue pen or green pen or red pen. It doesn't matter whichever color you choose to use, but just that the color has to differ from what the children usually write with. So you stamp in assessment for learning, the children mark their own work or each other's work. So when they've had the discussion, you can come in as a facilitator and put the answers on the board or brainstorm the answers and let the children mark their own work with a different color of pencil or pen.
All right, thank you very much, Franklin. I'm sure he has done justice to that. However, we are also trying to see how we can transit to the current trends in education, which is technology. The world is moving, as we all know it. And I tell a lot of educators, those who are ready to listen, that any school that doesn't embrace the 21st century skill, which includes use of technology, might be relegated to the background very, very soon, because we are preparing children for the future. And what is the future of the world is technological advancements. If we do not expose these children to things that to the future, because in the near future, I can assure us all that a lot of things will be automated. So if children are not prepared for the automated lifestyle that our world is already creeping into, then it's going to be a major challenge for them, and they won't get jobs, they won't get opportunities. And we're trying to ensure that there will be a level playing field for all children when they become adults. So it's very important that as school owners, as educators rather, we all join hands to speak up and ensure that the lives of these children are well catered for and well prepared for. It's their rights. They have the right to proper use of technology and, infusing technology in learning and helping them to see the positive sides of technology, not the negative sides of technology. So I hope that some school owners are listening to us and are listening to this program. And I also hope that some administrators are also here listening so that we can find ways to, support schools who need this tech support as much as possible. And trust me, technology can be very, very cheap. Technology can be very, very cheap. In Edves, for example, we provide tech solutions to schools at a very, very cheap rate. So it's very easy to, move your school from a traditional based method to a tech-based method. And on this note, I would like to invite Ebal and Idara to give us a short presentation on the practical aspects of blended learning. They're going to be showing us some slides. We'll be showing some slides on our screen so that those who want to take notes and want to have a visual representation of everything we've been saying about blended learning can also come in, and then we'll go back into the advantages and disadvantages of, or the problems and challenges of blended learning. So I leave the floor to you, Idara and Ebal.
Okay, so we wanted to introduce you with specific things that's like strategies or what things that you need to pay attention to when you are implementing blended learning. So the first things I will say, what kind of instruction material would you need for blended learning lesson? This is a question you have to ask yourself as an educator and think of the availability. I think Franklin started with saying technology is not important. He mentioned specific things, and I really agree with him in what's the objectives of your lesson? What do you want the students to achieve? That's the first thing we will be putting. And then what resources you can provide the students. For example, do I use a textbook or I use online textbook? Because there is different version of this. If it's like requirement for class to have a textbook. Another thing is, for example, if I decided to go with the textbook, what type of textbook I can choose? If I'm teaching math, I should think of a textbook that have kind of interactivities and technologies that reinforce the learning. And this will allow for students to be more engaged in their learning process. And that's what's the whole thing about blended learning. Blended learning, the overall goal of it is to make the students engage in their learning, and then the learning outcome is going to be achieved in a better way. It's enhanced the learning. And another thing, this is when we say incorporate technology for reinforcement. Think of what website you can use. If I'm teaching math and language and social studies, what websites I can use to reinforce what I'm teaching in class, for example. It has games or it has some kind of exercise will reinforce the learning. For example, iExcel, it's a very good website, has a combination of more than than two things, math, language, social studies, and science. Another thing, try new teaching techniques. Have you ever thought of giving project-based for the unit you wanted to teach? If you're teaching science, why don't you try to accommodate something in reality? Plant something. If you're teaching about plants, why don't you make the students go out and do something? Those kind of engagement of students in the learning process, it makes the learning stronger and stay focused on it and engage in the learning itself. And the most important part in the blended learning, and I want really to emphasize it, is create different types of assessment. We We don't need to have exam and test and quizzes to do that. We can have observation to see what the students learn. We can have students presented to us oral things to show for those students who are struggling with writing, but I want them to achieve something in verbal way, for example. So different types of assessments, it's part of the making the students engage more in their learning process and also achieve more for their in the blended learning. And the last things I wanted to mention is before the last thing, there is groups when you are working on a rotation station, mixing the group. There is various way of grouping. You can't have just the same group work here. You need to make these groups change. So I have different type of groups. So I can have a whole group in instructional time in classroom. That's when I give the whole thing that I wanted to give. And then another thing, I can have flexible group, small groups. I can do it like a homogeneous group. Those are the students who are in the same level and the same skills, or heterogeneous group. Those are the groups just divided by, not by the level of skills, but maybe by the, just randomly in the class, taking all the students in one time, having them in different groups. And then you can have students with interest, like who has the interest in doing this specific project, then group them together. All these kind of things we say, it's really, really part of engaging the students in their learning process. And it's bring what we say blended learning. So we are bringing things from a classic way of teaching, but we are adding to it the students at the center on focus of our teaching as educators. So when you get to the classroom and you can't find the teacher because the teacher is in the middle of something with the students, that's probably the class for blended learning. The students are everywhere in the room, but the teacher is providing a way of learning in different ways. The last things I wanted to mention is the technology and the digital tools we wanted to use. Why the digital curriculum is important. We can, Nina was mentioning a very important point. We can disregard the technology, which became something really important, and everyone now is using it. And maybe the school not have the budget to have the whole, but you can start gradually. Someone mentioned that on the chat, and I really like the idea. And this is what is it. It's not, and Idara also said, we can't just come the next day and say we want to implement blended learning. We have to do it gradually. We have to change the culture of the schools to make everybody in the school buy into the blended learning program, and then people will start implementing it gradually in the school. And as a culture, parents will be part of it, students will be part of it, administration are the leaders on this. They are the one going really to encourage by providing professional development to the teachers, by providing training to the parents on how to be part of a community that's using blended learning. I will leave the floor to Idara to put more light on other areas. Thanks.
So this is the basic approach. We just want to give everyone here a visual, a picture of what a blended learning class would look like. We have already re-emphasized that for us moving from traditional to blended learning, the safest and easiest way is through rotation. So this is a sample of this rotation design that we have created, where we have the teacher-led station, offline station, and online station. In the next slide, I've explained that a bit more. If we can go to the next slide, where I have shown examples of what a teacher-led station can look like. A teacher with a small group of people, getting direct feedback, scaffolding, formative assessment. The list goes on and on. Now, in an offline station means they're not using the internet here. It's either they're fixing something with their hands, problem solving, they're reading a textbook, and they are discussing a very, very important issue. That's where collaborative discussions come in. And please, I need to mention that in a blended learning class, even though online and offline stations are important, please let's not forget that groups are important. We need to have collaborative learning in a blended learning class. And then there is also the time for individualized or personalized learning, but we shouldn't forget that. So we have pair practice. We have a lot of things that can be done in an offline station. So an example in a class I have been in would just be the students. I give them a problem. Everybody, and they're always written down so that the students can refer to them. So everyone, I need you to read this topic in this textbook right now, and I need everyone to come up with the benefits, advantages, or disadvantages, something as simple as that. Nothing too complex, depending on your objective. Then the online station. Online station means that they're going to go to the internet, you know, it could be a learning platform. It could be you've sent a research link and you want them to click on it and read up on something, respond to something, so many things. So let's go to the next slide quickly so that I know that I'm not repeating myself. So this is an example of a comprehension class. I try to get what are my objectives for this class. What do I want the students to understand? And so there is something we call a mini lesson, because we don't want the teacher to be the one talking from the beginning to the end, which many people are used to, you know. So you ask yourself as a teacher, what is that thing that I know that in this particular lesson, I need to explain to the students, I need to tell them, convert them into a station and say, okay, this is a mini lesson. For instance, here in comprehension, teaching them how to make inferences from a passage. Then something else, another activity can be read and identify keywords, which in the next slide, you'll see I have called it differentiated practice, where even though I have everybody reading and identifying these keywords, I have organized my group in a way that I want to achieve different things, even at that station with the different people. So this group, okay, maybe they are the people who I just want them to read this keyword, identify it, maybe look for the meaning. Another group, maybe a more advanced group in that same station, their role is to check for, identify them, the meaning, provide synonyms, how else would we use it in one way or the other, really depending on the level of the learners who have come to that station. Now, researching. So this was a comprehension class where they were going to learn about something, and tanning was going to be one of the things that will generate a lot of questioning. I already knew because I had already gone through the lesson, and I'm like, okay, tanning is in this passage, and the students want to keep asking me about tanning. So instead of making everybody ask and I keep answering and answering and answering, I converted that into a research station where I already had a link prepared. All they needed to do was click on that link and go and do a research on tanning, so that they're not asking me all the questions. So it helps them with their curiosity and all that. Then there's a paragraph also I needed them to discuss, because there were certain things I needed them to get out of that paragraph. So it depends on you. It depends on your lesson. What do you want to achieve from that class? If we go to the next slide now, please, you will see that everything has now been converted. These activities or my objectives, whatever, have been converted to stations. So the teacher is not talking from the beginning to the end. The teacher already knows the very important thing she wants to talk. She can make that he or she can now make it the teacher station, differentiated practice. How do I want to achieve this? And so on and so forth. So this is just a peek into what the design of a station rotation class can look like. Use your objectives to create stations, but always make sure that you have a station where students can collaborate. It doesn't have to be all the stations. Also have a station that is online where they can research, which helps them to be able to improve their lifelong learning skills. So that you need to have really a station like that. But very, very importantly, like I said at the beginning, a teacher-led station, an online station, and an offline station. and we are ready to, start blended learning in our classrooms. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Over to you, Nina.
Wow, this is awesome. Thank you so much, Dara. In fact, I was taking down notes without knowing it. The teacher in me rose again, and then I started taking down notes. And I'm sure a lot of teachers are doing the same thing. I've been seeing a lot of positive comments from our audience, talking about all that they've been learning. And I hope it's not just about us learning. I hope we can take these things and move to our classrooms and then make impacts, because for us, it's not just about talking about these things and, going for webinars and seminars, but it's also about practice, practicing these things in our classrooms. And because of time, we would have delved more into blended learning because it's quite a broad topic. But I would like us to move the discussion to our Telegram group, where we would have more time to ask our questions and get the necessary support. Most of us who have registered will be added to a Telegram group chat where we can share more ideas and learn more. And our honorable speakers will be willing to come on and, talk about these things and share more ideas with us and share more experiences with us as well. And then while you are also trying to practice this in your classrooms, if you stumble upon any challenge, you can come back to the Telegram group chat and share your experiences with us, and we're ready to deliver all the supports that you would need, of course, apart from money. Yes. So on this note, I would like to ask the final question, and then we would round up the session for today. I think we've already covered a lot of questions about how parents can be involved, about how administrators can ensure that blended learning becomes a school culture. And I just want our speakers to give us their final take on blended learning, your final word for this session. And then if we have questions, the audience, if you have questions, you can just type in your questions right now. We'll pick 2 questions or 3, and then we'll round up the session. So I would like our speakers to share their final insights before we move to Q&A.
Okay, can I start?
All right. Yes, please start, Egbal.
Okay, I think we covered, it's hard to have a blended learning session in just one hour or 1 hour and a half, because there is a lot of things, components, part of that. But what I wanted really to emphasize here, what's the goal of the blended learning? When we talk about emergency readiness for administrators in school, when we talk about students' engagement, when we talk about making students ready for their future, all these things together are part of the blended learning. Blended learning will allow us to do this and to have like one package in achieving all these things. So to me as an educator, what is my goal? My goal is to achieve the learning outcome I wanted the students to learn, but I also wanted the students to engage and enjoy their learning process when they are learning. I don't want students to come to my class sleeping, not really engaged, or even giving me a hard time to manage the class. Blended learning require, at the beginning, it may look like it's hard things because I have to lead all these stations, but after you practice it, you will find it's the students themselves enjoying this. So you don't have the headache of classroom management. Everybody will be busy doing something during the rotation station when they are working. Also, if you give the students learn on their base, when you give them something to do at home, or you just set them aside and say, oh, you know what, just go sit in that area and do your work. These things will make the students more engaged in their learning, and they will achieve much better result in the learning outcome. This is just I want to emphasize. And also because I have been involved in emergency readiness program with ASA for a long time, we decided to go with the blended learning Although other regions in Europe, in Australia, and other regions, they were naming their program like emergency readiness, but we named our program blended learning, and we achieved much better as a region in all, because we give a chance to the administrator of schools to be ready in case of the emergency by providing tools, various ways of engaging the teachers to be ready to go online if we have those kind of emergency. And I think many schools achieved much better during the COVID time, because the ASA program was trying to make most of the school ready to be ready for something with blended learning. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ebal. I would like to move to Franklin. Franklin, your final take. Okay, I think you're muted, Franklin.
Is the best way to teach. This is how we taught many years ago in the UK. When we say teaching and learning has evolved, that is what we meant by teaching and learning has evolved. It has to be blended learning. And quite a number of the approach is the best ways to get children to enjoy learning, because learning is about excellence and enjoyment. Some of the topics or the ideas I'll put across is latch on children's interests, use the groupings as has been said. Technology is very important. With the groupings, have a carousel of activities that is linked to the learning objective. Learning outside the classroom is also very important, it's key. Use external agents, more importantly, to link to home, make it project-based so that children can take things home, work on it, and bring it back to the classroom. And don't forget that questioning is key. There are different types of questioning. Like we said, we cannot explore all about blended learning here. The computer, the internet, I beg your pardon, can give us a lot of information about blended learning. So go online and investigate more, research more on blended learning. You see different approaches, how different people have used different ideas and approaches to get children interested and engaged in learning to make the best progress they can make. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Franklin. Thank you, Israel, and then Idara.
Okay, thank you so much. I have actually learned a lot as a teacher, and I hope to start implementing more of this to actually help my pupils to be sincere with this. And one thing I would just talk about is the notion where teacher says this child is not teachable, and I have an answer for everyone. The reason is this, is because we've not taught them the way they want to learn. That is why we make such confection. And this blended learning model actually has encouraged students to learn more actively. And it has also helped to make teaching to become student-centered and bridge the gap between the old and the 21st century. So everyone should embrace it. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you so much. Idara, please.
Okay, so what I would like to let teachers know, because I know teachers would want to try to implement, you would want to go online and learn about this, but something that can help you as you try to implement, especially the rotation models in your class. If care is not taken, you'll feel confused and say, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. So to help you and your learners, you should give clear instructions so that you don't have students coming to meet you every second. Oh, should I do this? I always write down my instructions. So for every station, everything is clearly explained. If you clearly explain everything your students need to do from the beginning, it reduces the amount of problem solving, you know, crowd control or whatever you would be doing during a class, because that can cause confusion and chaos. Give clear instructions at the beginning, have them written down, let the students know what they are supposed to do in their stations, everything, write it out so they can always keep referring to it. Then another thing that may pose as a challenge is when the students have to move from one station to the other. It can be rowdy if you do not put the right things in place. So an idea I'll give to you is have queues, many queues. For instance, there is this one I used to use also. It's called the light queue. Because students, no matter, okay, you also need to explain to the students that when time is up, we need to move to the next station. And so sometimes some stations do not necessarily, you do not have to finish everything from the beginning to the end. Sometimes I just need you to practice. I need you to develop this skill. In the next class, we'll build up on it. Let them understand this so that when they have to move from one station to the other station, you don't have some people who are still sitting down. So for instance, a queue like I was talking about, I let them know that when it is 1 minute to the end of your being on this station, I'm going to turn off the lights. So once I turn off the lights, everybody knows that they should be rounding up with what it is that they are doing. And once the light comes back on, everybody just stand up and move. It reduces my talking. It reduces, it helps things to move faster. So those two things are very important things that a teacher who wants to start this would need to put at the back of his or her mind. And it won't be perfect the first time, second time, or even third time, but with experience, you know what to do time after time. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much to all our esteemed speakers. I feel so blessed having all of you here, and I'm sure the whole of Africa feels blessed. You know, we're all reimagining education at one day at a time. And I also believe that this is a very positive change in our educational sector. I am so impressed with our speakers, and I want to say a very big thank you to all our participants, all those who have joined in from various parts of Africa to be a part of this discussion. Please do not forget to click on the link to join the Telegram platform where we can discuss more and share more ideas. And of course, remember to join and register and join our next SGA webinar for May. We'll be having that on the 17th of May next week. So I hope we'll all love to join and share more ideas. The topic for the next webinar will be shared on our various platforms, and I hope that we'll gain more insight on how we can shape our educational sector. Thank you very much, Idara, Franklin, Ebal, and Israel for joining us once again. I'd like you to wave to the audience and say goodbye to them. But before we go into the final goodbye, I'd like to call on our head of growth once again, Olaolu, to share some things about Edves and how Edves can support learning in our schools. Thank you very much. Olaolu.
Well, thank you very much, Inina. Thank you, and I've learned so much from this, from the sessions, from the speakers. And I just want to reiterate what I talked about earlier when you brought me in about what we do in Edves. So Edves is a comprehensive school management and learning management platform. And basically what we do is we digitize school processes. And right now we are presently in 7 countries. We are present in 7 countries. In Nigeria, we're in Ghana, we're in Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and we're also in all the geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this webinar. This webinar is powered by School Growth Academy, and you can hear School Growth Academy. So we are interested in the growth of the schools. And our vision is to reimagine education and make learning easy. So the reason why we are doing this is, of course, we're actualizing our vision
by reimagining education and making learning easy. That's why also we are doing this program, to bring in new things that are happening, new trends that are happening, so that the normal traditional way of learning that the students have been used to can be changed, and they can also get used to this this kind of learning, this new model of learning, and they can also catch up with the likes of their mates all over the world. So that's that. So because of this program, we have a special promo that we are giving to some of schools that are not already on Edves. I know Mr. Israel spoke about how blended learning, how it was very easy for them to imbibe blended learning in the school, and what they were able to use was Edves. I know you can remember when he talked about that he shared some videos with the student before the class, and they watched the video, and he gave the student the ability to be able to comprehend and understand what the teacher is teaching in the classroom. So this is very, very important. So we are actually giving a promo right now. Schools are going to be resuming next week. The new term is going to be resuming next week, and it gives the opportunity for schools that are not already on Edves to also on Edves, and we have a 15% flat promo on our setup training and our subscription. So if you want to come up on Edves, you have a 15% flat promo on our setup training and setup training and subscription. And also, if you are interested in us doing a demo for you, or an online demo for you, or you want us to actually do a free demo, a physical demo for you, we can also come to your school to actually do a physical demo for you. And also, you are going to be seeing a link on the screen. You can also signify interest, whether you want a physical demo or you want a virtual demo of Edves platform. And I know that this webinar has actually been an informative webinar for a lot of people. And like I said, this is powered by School Growth Academy. Would always be doing this, and I would also invite. I would also like you guys, like everyone, to also register for the next edition, the May edition of this School Growth Academy webinar. And it's very, very, very important to register. So our vision is to reimagine education and make learning easier. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nena. Back to you.
Thank you, Olaolu. So that's a summary of how blended learning can be aided in your schools using our Edves platform. We have lots of features, the CBT, the video-based learning, also a form of distance learning program and personalized learning, which we'll be bringing on board soon to help students all over the world and all over Africa to benefit from Edves and from blended learning as well. So I would like to say a final goodbye to all my speakers and the audience. Thank you so much. You have been so patient with us, and we've stayed for more than an hour and a half in this program. I would like us to keep joining in and being a part of the program as well. We also have another link that we'll be sharing where you can, from Canacare, where you can also fill a short survey, just a 1-minute survey that will also help you to make deliberate choices about your children and about your students as well. Thank you very much. My name remains Nena Okore, the Director for Learning Edves, and see you next month. Can all the speakers quickly say goodbye to everyone? Goodbye. Bye.
Edves is powering learning and administration in over 700 schools in Africa. Hear from some of our clients.
Edves have helped us to have our database, the database of children, students or learners, the database of staff, database of parents, and to that extent, communication with parents and staff has become a lot easier.
I think what Edves did was they added value that was able to support our vision and our mission for the children that pass through us. And most importantly, they have a listening ear, which is very important. As you know, as an educationist or anyone in education, one of your biggest strengths is to have a teachable spirit. And I think the company demonstrates that.
Use Edves today.
Buy Edves annual subscription today and get up to 30% off our per student billing plan. Terms and condition applies. Also, get 500 MB for free with MTN for daily use on Edves. Hurry while the promo lasts.
Edves is Africa's leading digital educational platform, which enables administration, communication, finance, teaching, and learning beyond the classroom. Edves allows you as a parent to access and track your child's academic reports and personal growth at any time, giving you a better understanding of your child's academic performance.
Have a nice day at school.
We give you the security and reassurance you need to excel in your daily activities and manage your financial obligations to your child's education. Edves provides an administrative and management system which enhances accountability, teamwork, and growth needed for a thriving organization. Which brings perfect results. Teach creatively, learn effectively, track your child's performance easily, and do so much more with Edves. Edves, digital education. Visit www.edves.net to get started now.
Edves is solving a lot of problems for us. It is centralizing all the information. Temple School has 4 locations, and so it's not easy trying to coordinate everything. You want to be able to sit and look at all the information at a glance.
I think what Edves did was they added value that was able to support our vision and our mission for the children that pass through us.
We're lucky that we were able to get the Edves team on board before the lockdown, because with that we had all the information very centrally, and having that was very easy for us to be able to communicate all the different changes.
We now don't have to go to different places to get information. So you don't need to get different spreadsheets. You don't need to get access to different reports. You can eliminate the paperwork. That helps you, you know. I can actually be at a party and I can check on my phone and know what is going on. So,
okay, we do reports, but what do these reports tell us about our students? Can we have descriptive statements? For the first time, we were able to do that at the end of the last academic session, where not only did we have the grades and ranking of the students, but every teacher had the opportunity to describe the child within their setting, how well they're doing, how well they're coping with the lessons or the subject, and the needs for them to improve. And that was, for me, a big step, because our parents actually embraced.
Edves has helped us concerning the preparation of results, has also helped us to have database of children or learners, the database of staff, database of parents. And to that extent, communication with parents and staff has become a lot easier.
The quality of Edves report has been very, very good. We have not had any cause to give a negative report.
Analyze information. I think it's the analysis. Again, I always say to the Edves team, is the fact that we can analyze data. So I know children's performance according to gender. Just by touching a button. I know children's performance according to class. Children's performance according to, I can access my financial information, who has paid, who hasn't paid. So I think school owners who are not on Edves, right, obviously need to be on Edves.
Use Edves today.
Use Edves today.
Use Edves today. You never go wrong.
I'm recommending Edves today. Make sure you get on board.
Use Edves today.
I would recommend Edves to schools, big or small schools.
Use Edves. What are you waiting for? Use Edves. Come on now.
Edves is Africa's leading digital educational platform, which enables administration, communication, finance, teaching, and learning beyond the classroom. Edves allows you as a parent to access and track your child's academic reports and personal growth at any time, giving you a better understanding of your child's academic performance.
Have a nice day at school.
We give you the security and